Hello dear viewer and welcome to this video in which we will be looking back on the story of Fallout 4's Far Harbor DLC. Now please don't complain in the comments about spoilers, this is quite literally the point of the video. Now instead of bugging you throughout, I'll just say it now. Hi, I'm Ghost Stefana, I'm an independent YouTuber who enjoys playing video games and then talking about them on my small channel following here. Now if at any point in this video I do make you laugh, I make you smile, or even make you cry, or all of the above, then please hit subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Now, if you want to watch my Fallout 4 main game recap first, then you can just click up here. But if there's no settlements that require our help, let's begin. Far Harbor begins with our trusty synth friend, Nick Valentine, and can be played anytime during the main story. The hot metal piece of ass takes us to the Nakano residence, a family home on the northeast coast of the Commonwealth. When there, we meet Kenji and Rei Nakano. Don't know why she's staring at the wall. They don't even offer us a cup of tea, but fly straight into and explain the fact that their daughter, Kasumi, not the Mass Effect character, has gone missing. Sounds like a job for the Valentine Detective Agency, I think. Ignoring the desperate hunt for my own missing son, I prepare to pour multiple hours into a side quest. After investigating around the house, we learn that Kasumi has learned and begun to suspect that she may actually be a synth replacement. Very quickly, in case you haven't played the main game, synths are robots created by a scientific underground organization called the Institute. They come in many forms. For example, Nick is an early model, but more recent ones are much more advanced and perfectly replicate humans. Many humans are replaced by synths who then have their memories suppressed. But like in Kasumi's case, many synths eventually regain their memories and begin to suffer a series of cryptic dreams and flashes. Kasumi, fearing that she was a synth, headed off to the island of Far Harbor, where there is said to be a colony of runaway synths living there. After a short boat ride, we arrive on the island. When there, we meet Avery and Alan, who is a bit of a dick. Avery runs the town of Far Harbor, and we are quickly enlisted into helping the town ward off some incoming nasties. After defeating said nasties, Avery explains that the island emits a radioactive fog which irradiated creatures come out of. The town is somewhat protected by special fog condensers, but she's concerned at how quickly the fog is spreading, having been somewhat dormant for a while. Alan the Dick, however, casts his blame on the Children of Atom, of which there is a settlement of followers on the island. He claims since they arrived, the fog has become worse and that they should deal with them. If you're new to Fallout, then the Children of Atom are a religious / cult that worships radiation and the atom and see radioactive material caused by the bombs as godly and actively consume and bask in it. It's a mystery to many how they don't die as a result. I basically say, okay, cool, I don't really care about that, I just need to find this girl and go home. They lend us the hand of an old man called Old Longfellow, who will apparently protect me during my journey through the fog, and I think I'm modded to fuck and have every single perk and gun. I reckon I'll be fine. However, the old duffer comes along anyway, and eventually we reach the synth settlement, which is called Acadia. Inside, we meet the settlement leader called DiMA, who seems pretty sound and actually knows Nick Valentine. Nick, however, doesn't remember him. That's because synths traditionally don't remember most of their early life, but DiMA doesn't seem to be a normal synth. We track down Kasumi inside, and I think, great, that was fucking easy. Kasumi explains what we basically already know, that she ran away because that she fears she's a synth, blah, 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 blah. However, her evidence for this is very minimal, to say the least. Before we can convince Kasumi to return home, she reveals that Acadia isn't what it seems, and that there is a deep secret on the island. She can't return home until she has gotten to the bottom of it. And guess who is called in to help with this? Bloody us. Sorry, Sean, my beloved son, even though, to my lone survivor's knowledge, at this point in the game, you could well be being held captive by Deathclaws or Albanian drug lords. You'll just have to wait a little bit longer because this teenager thinks something odd is going on here in Robotsville. We begin to investigate and spy on a meeting between DiMA and his two partners, Chase and Faraday, who begin to discuss the ongoing conflict and tension between the Children of Atom and the Far Harbor residents. It doesn't take a genius to realize that at some point we're probably going to play a pretty big part in that particular tale. DiMA also discusses his saved memory bank. Basically, Dina retains all of his memories from his life, even his time at the Institute and his escape. He explains this data is stored at the nearby submarine base, now the home of the Children of Atom. He fears the Children of Atom will discover this and use the knowledge in their conflict against the people of Far Harbor. In the hope that the memories will shed some light on the mysterious DiMA, we plan to set out to retrieve them. We can also mention this to DiMA, who actually supports the idea, as he'd rather an outsider infiltrate the Children of Atom than one of his own. We head to the home of the Children of Atom, known locally as the Nucleus. To gain access, we are given a task to prove that we are worthy. The task essentially consists of drinking from an irradiated waterfall and then going on a mad trip because of it. The trippy Ibiza-themed quest ends when we retrieve a religious item for the cult. With that done, we head inside and meet the High Confessor Tectus, who, as you would expect for someone who worships the Atom, is batshit crazy. Over time, we help both the Children of Atom and the Far Harbor residents, which gains trust of them both. Enough so that we are eventually granted permission into the Nucleus Command Center so we can look for those juicy memories. Next, to unlock the memories, we are forced into an hour of torture in one of the most mind-numbing mission sequences I've ever played in my history of gaming. I like to think this is what the mind of a computer programmer looks like, and let me tell you, it's fucking boring. When we decipher the code of DiMA's memories, we learn of his background. He escaped from the Institute with our very own Nick Valentine many years ago. The duo were one of the very first synth prototypes and referred to each other as brothers. As one of their many experiments, the Institute allowed DiMA to have free will and personality, where Nick was built with pre-existing alternating human personalities. The frequent experiments prompted DiMA to flee with Nick. However, when escaping, Nick struggled to separate himself from the pre-existing personalities and believed himself to be the human detective Nick Valentine and attacked DiMA, forcing DiMA to knock Nick out and flee. After that episode of Robot Wars ended, DiMA later moved to Far Harbor. Originally living in the Nucleus, he met and befriended the Children of Atom's then leader, Confessor Martin. He also built the fog condensers to make the island habitable to others. Eventually, he allowed the Children of the Atom to move into the Nucleus while he went on to build Acadia. However, more importantly, within his memories, we learn that DiMA, due to the rise in tensions between the children and the Far Harbor residents, created two contingency plans in the event that either group endangered Acadia. For the children, it was acquiring the activation key to the nuclear missile that resides in the submarine inside the Nucleus. For Far Harbor, it was acquiring the shutdown codes for their wind farms, their only source of power. The locations of both were hidden within the memories. More disturbingly, we also discover that shortly after Far Harbor was established, DiMA killed Captain Avery and replaced her with a synth version in order to have a neutral voice to help the cohabiting relationship between the synths of Acadia and Far Harbor. Captain Avery is naturally unaware that she is a synth, as are the people of the town. DiMA became so disgusted with his actions, he suppressed the memories in the databank, but didn't destroy them in case of the need of the contingency plans arised. With these discoveries, we confront DiMA, and this is when our choices can determine the end of the game. If we can look past his murder of Captain Avery, he will create a plan to replace the leader of the Children of Atom, Confessor Tectus, with a synth, with many deeming Tectus to be the driving force of the tension between the two factions. Or you can enact one of DiMA's contingency plans and destroy one of the factions. DiMA will express his disgust if you make this choice. However, I told DiMA that he needs to confess his crimes to the people of Far Harbor. He swiftly does so, carefully not naming who the synth actually is in fear for their safety. His confession is judged by the people of Far Harbor as a death sentence, and DiMA is killed. Driven by Alan the Dick, the group begins to turn their hostility towards Acadia, but the sole survivor can convince them to leave the group alone, depending on our affinity rating amongst the town, which is built mainly by the side quests you have completed for them. See, side quests are sometimes important. There is a third option which not many gamers go for, but it does exist. You can go to either the Brotherhood of Steel or the Institute and basically inform them of Acadia. The The Institute will arrive and attempt to reclaim the synths, whereas the Brotherhood will basically rock up and destroy them all, forcing DiMA to make a last stand and perish. Now, full disclosure, I didn't understand why the main Far Harbor quest hadn't ended after I'd done all of this, so I wrongly thought I had to destroy one of the factions. So I blew up the Children of Atom. Fuck 'em. I then remembered, after my mass slaughter, that the original reason I was on the island was, of course, to take Kasumi home. I sheepishly wiped the human remains from my coat and headed back to Acadia. After being settled that the concerns she had about Acadia are now resolved, she agrees to return home to her family. The interesting thing is the game doesn't exclusively tell you if she actually is a synth or not. Most gamers tend to suggest that she isn't, and interestingly, if you kill her, which I did after a quick save, her corpse doesn't reveal a synth component like most synths. But this could be an oversight, as some other synths in the game also don't drop a component on death. If you've played this game, do let me know in the comments if you think Kasumi was a synth or not. I might do a separate video on that soon. And with that, the game DLC ends. And if you like this recap and found it useful, then please do hit subscribe. It takes a long time to compile all of these clips and create these videos, so to see my subscriber rate grow at the end of it really does make it all worth it. So thank you in advance, and thanks for watching.